Now we close at 0.21%, and that's more than a quarter of a percentage down. You've known the fundamentals that is guiding all of this, and especially today, being a wet day in Lagos, activities, got much down. I have here with me a trader who was on the trading floor, and he will relieve all of the stuff that happened there. Mr. Andy Tsaku, who is a dealer with Capital Care Trust and Securities Limited. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
The week has not been that vibrant as we used to know. Just today, markets closed 0.21% after what we saw in the mid-trade. On a day like this, that many of you didn't make it to the trading floor, some traded from their private offices. How did you feel?
Yeah, well, I mean, interestingly, the size of participants physically on the floor does not necessarily reflect the level of participation overall in the market space. And again, if you look at it, given the volume and value of trades today, both still are in sync with the average that we see on a daily basis. I mean, having posted an excess of 2.1 billion in value, with volume, in excess of 155 million. On a day, whether rain or shine, I think that's a fair performance given the daily averages that we've been seeing lately. But that said, we've seen the entire week largely characterized by muted levels of transactions, and we have witnessed continuous decline, even though staggered, with barely a day out of the entire week posting positive numbers. That cannot really be taken out of the grain that we've experienced in terms of the level of sentiment that has permeated the market, for some weeks running. And of course, I mean, you and I have a fair idea of where the pushes are coming. But overall, I think the market has fared to a reasonable extent in sync with expectations.
We see that the high cap stocks are really battered this week. For today, Nigerian breweries, Zenith, Dangote Cements, Wapi, all of them, they did not actually smile out of the trading floor. What would you say especially about Nigerian breweries? Well,
Nigerian breweries' journey didn't just begin today or even in the course of the week. We've seen continuous lackluster intervention in terms of the heightened desire to hold Nigerian breweries, given the numbers particularly that they brought us recently, which didn't quite excite the market. Again, that is always the beauty of the market, that the market responds to the performance of companies, which is witnessed by the declarations that they make. So since the declaration of that result, we have seen Nigerian breweries, along with others whose expectations were a little more than was really reflective, come under some pressure. So that is part of the trend that we have witnessed. And I think it's a fair assessment of investors' view of individual stocks. Nigerian breweries not being an exclusion.
Okay, from the insurance markets, we see Law Union Insurance taking 10% dip. Yeah. What would you say about Law Union Insurance in the sense that insurance subsector we know to be a penny stock kind of sector as it is?
Well, they have gradually migrated themselves, talking about insurance stocks, into penny stock territory, not necessarily because they were intended to belong there. However, we do understand, generally that sector has been under weather. And that is, I think, part of the reason NICOM has had to reignite the issue of capitalization. And one of the challenges that I think the insurance sector still has to contend with, maybe going forward, is the issue of corporate governance. So by and large, people are beginning to resituate issues. Is there value in this sector? Yes. Is the sector being maximized in terms of utility? No. So there is a need, in fact, a stringent need to ensure that these entities called insurance companies do a lot more than we're seeing. On the back of facts, it does appear that they have great potential because the market still remains largely virgin and the penetration rate still remains low. So for the likes of Law Union, Sovereign Trust, and a host of others, there's a lot more work to do. On a fair scale, the daily oscillation in prices does not necessarily reflect the entire performance of the individual companies, except for issues around demand and supply. And I think that's part of the weight that Law Union had to suffer today.
Okay, let's leave it there, Mr. Tsaku.
Thank you.
And Tsaku is a dealer with Capital Trust and Securities Limited. You heard what transpired on the trading floor Friday, a Wednesday in Lagos, with heavy traffic on many streets, especially in the central business district.